Shug Knight's name has always been surrounded by danger, but this time things may have gone too far. Reports are swirling that the former death row boss was attacked inside prison, and it happened right after he made explosive comments about Diddy. Now, his family is said to be traumatized, fearing what might happen next. And fans are asking if this was just a prison fight or a calculated warning meant to silence him. This isn't just another story about hip hop beef. This could be the fallout of decades of tension, secrets, and rivalries finally boiling over. But what really happened to Shug Knight? And why does Diddy's name keep surfacing in the middle of it all? Before we break it all down, let me ask you, do you think this was an accident or something much bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. On the night in question, reports claim that Shug Knight was assaulted inside the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California, the same prison where he's serving a 28-year sentence for a 2015 incident. According to sources, the altercation wasn't just a random fight. Rumors suggest that Shug may have been specifically targeted, with some speculating it was a response to the bold comments he recently made about Diddy. Details remain scarce, but whispers say Shug sustained injuries serious enough to leave his family shaken and demanding answers. What made this even more alarming is the timing. Just days earlier, Shug had been making headlines again, hinting at explosive truths about Diddy and the dark side of the music industry. To many fans, the attack felt less like a coincidence and more like a warning shot. And while prison fights aren't unusual, the involvement of Shug Knight, one of the most infamous figures in hip hop, made this story spread like wildfire. Some are calling it revenge. Others are saying it's all tied to the secrets Shug has been hinting at for years. But what exactly did he say about Diddy that could have pushed someone to make this move? In the weeks leading up to the alleged attack, Shug Knight's words were making headlines. From inside prison, he'd been giving interviews and speaking on podcasts, dropping hints that Diddy wasn't as innocent as he claimed to be when it came to the darker chapters of hip-hop history. Shug didn't give names outright, but he strongly suggested that certain powerful figures, including Diddy, had deeper involvement in events from the 1990s than most people realize. He implied that if the truth ever came out, it would shake the entire industry to its core. Fans quickly connected these comments to the still unsolved murder of Biggie Smalls in Los Angeles, March 1997, as well as the long-standing tension between Death Row and Bad Boy Records. On social media, rumors exploded, with people claiming Shug had finally exposed Diddy and might have put himself in danger by speaking up. And here's the thing. Shug has a history of making cryptic, unsettling remarks. Back in past interviews, he hinted that both Tupac's and Biggie's deaths weren't accidents and that people in high places knew the truth. This time, though, his words came at the worst possible moment, right when Diddy's name was already being dragged into scandals and lawsuits. So the big question is, did Shug's comments paint a target on his back inside prison walls? To understand why Shug Knight's latest comments hit so hard, you have to rewind to the 1990s, when the rivalry between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Entertainment changed hip-hop forever. At the 1995 Source Awards in New York City, Shug took the stage and delivered one of the most infamous shots in music history, mocking Diddy for dancing in his artist's videos and inviting rappers to come to death row. That single moment poured gasoline on the East Coast versus West Coast fire, making the feud personal, not just business. From there, tensions spiraled. Tupac, signed to death row, took direct aim at Biggie, Bad Boy's crown jewel, dropping diss tracks that made headlines everywhere. Meanwhile, Diddy stood firmly behind Biggie, framing it as loyalty while intensifying the rivalry. By 1996, this wasn't just a music beef, It was a cultural divide, with fans, artists, and media all picking sides. Then came the ultimate tragedies. Tupac killed in Las Vegas in September 1996, and Biggie shot dead in Los Angeles in March 1997. Both murders remain unsolved, but fingers have always pointed toward the two camps, Death Row and Bad Boy, as the forces behind the bloodshed. Fast forward nearly 3 decades later, and those wounds never fully healed. Whenever Shug speaks Diddy's name, it's not just commentary, it's a reminder of one of hip hop's darkest and most dangerous eras. And with Shug's recent words, many believe the ghosts of that rivalry are resurfacing in a deadly way. But if this feud is decades old, what would motivate an attack on Shug in 2025? So why now? Why would Suge Knight allegedly be attacked in 2025, nearly 30 years after the peak of the Death Row versus Bad Boy feud? The timing points directly to the explosive comments he recently made about Diddy. Sources suggest that Shug's words didn't just rattle fans, they likely rattled people with real power inside and outside the music industry. Prison is a place where reputation can make you untouchable or put a target on your back, and Shug has always carried a larger-than-life presence. His history of intimidation, combined with the suggestion that Diddy had involvement in Biggie's death, may have painted him as a threat to people who still have stakes in the old rivalry. Then there's the psychological angle. Shug's family has reportedly been left traumatized, because this isn't just about prison violence. It's about someone potentially trying to send a message. Inmates who target high-profile prisoners often do so to prove dominance, gain leverage, or even settle old debts. With Shug's name, wealth, and notoriety, the potential motives multiply. Some insiders speculate that the attack could also be linked to gang dynamics inside the facility. Shug has known affiliations from his death row days, which may provide protection in some situations, but also make him a target for rival groups who remember old grudges or see an opportunity for influence. Finally, it's worth noting the timing in relation to his legal appeals. In March 2025, Shug's last habeas corpus petition was denied, confirming he will serve out the rest of his sentence. Some analysts believe that as Shug's freedom became more distant, the perception of him being vulnerable increased, making him a prime target for an attack. Fans are left asking, was this attack purely a prison altercation, or was it a calculated strike tied to Suge Knight finally speaking out about Diddy? For Suge Knight's family, the news of the alleged attack was devastating. Already forced to live with the reality that their father, brother, or uncle is serving a long sentence, now they've been hit with something far worse, the fear that he might not even be safe inside prison. Reports claim that family members were shaken and traumatized after hearing what happened. Some of them have spoken privately about their frustration, asking how a high-profile inmate like Shug could be left so vulnerable. Others have hinted that they believe this wasn't a random assault, but something orchestrated, making their fear even deeper. One source close to the family suggested that his kids, who've tried to keep his legacy alive outside prison walls, were particularly disturbed. To them, it feels like Shug is being punished twice, once by the justice system and again by those who want to keep him quiet. On social media, fans have also chimed in, expressing support for the family and demanding answers. Many are asking, if Shug's comments about Diddy are connected to this attack, what else might he know that hasn't been revealed yet? But while his family worries and his supporters speculate, prison officials remain tight-lipped, offering almost no details about what really went down. What makes this story even more unsettling is how little information has come out of the prison system. Normally, when a high-profile inmate like Suge Knight is involved in an incident, Details surface quickly: statements, reports, even press updates. But this time, almost nothing. Officials have refused to comment beyond the bare minimum, only acknowledging that an incident occurred. No names, no details about injuries, no confirmation of motive. That silence has only fueled speculation that there's more to the story than they want the public to know. Some fans argue this lack of transparency feels intentional, especially considering Shug's comments about Diddy just weeks before the attack. If he was assaulted because of what he said, keeping the details quiet would serve everyone who wants the truth buried. Others believe the prison system is simply protecting itself from scrutiny. After all, how could one of the most infamous men in hip hop history be left exposed to such danger? The unanswered questions are piling up, and the silence only makes things look more suspicious. And yet, Shug's history proves that he's not someone who stays silent for long. Which leaves one major question: what happens if he decides to speak again despite the risks? After the alleged attack, everyone is asking the same question: what does Suge Knight do now? His reputation as a fearless, outspoken figure in hip hop means staying quiet isn't exactly his style. But speaking out again comes with serious risks, especially inside prison. Some insiders believe Shug might double down on his claims about Diddy, potentially sharing more details about what he believes happened in the 1990s. These revelations could reignite public interest in the unresolved Biggie Smalls case, especially with renewed focus on the long-standing East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. But doing so could also make him an even bigger target inside prison, where rumors travel fast and past enemies don't forget. Others argue that Shug may try to protect himself through legal channels, perhaps requesting transfers, protective custody, or stricter oversight from prison officials. Considering his health has reportedly been declining over the years, taking precautions could be just as critical as speaking out. Sources suggest that Shug has been communicating with lawyers and advisors outside to assess the best strategy for staying safe while maintaining his voice. Then there's the psychological aspect. Shug has spent decades commanding respect on the streets and in the music industry, but life in prison is different. The attack could have shaken him mentally, forcing him to reassess how he navigates both his reputation and his safety. Will he continue to push boundaries and speak boldly, or will he choose a more cautious approach to survive? Another factor is public perception. Fans and hip hop historians are watching closely. Social media is buzzing with debates. Some believe Shug was right to speak out, while others warn that exposing Diddy, even indirectly, was a dangerous move that could have serious consequences. The pressure of being constantly scrutinized adds another layer of complexity to his decisions. Finally, the broader industry fallout cannot be ignored. If Shug shares more details about Diddy or the events surrounding Biggie's death, it could reignite legal and personal conflicts among those still involved. People connected to the old rivalry may feel compelled to respond, which could escalate tensions both inside and outside the prison system. In short, Shug Knight's next moves are critical, not just for his own survival, but for how the story of one of hip hop's most infamous rivalries continues to unfold. The question remains: will he stay silent to stay safe, or will he risk everything to reveal what he believes is the truth? What do you think Shug should do next? Should he keep his mouth shut or speak out and risk more danger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The alleged attack on Shug Knight in prison is more than just another news headline. It's a window into a world where fame, power, and past rivalries never truly die. Shug's history with Biggie, Diddy, and the legacy of Death Row Records has followed him even behind bars, turning what should be a place of isolation into a high-stakes battleground. From the 1995 Source Awards in New York City to the violent confrontations that marked the 1990s East Coast versus West Coast feud, Shug has always been at the center of some of hip-hop's most dangerous conflicts. Now, in 2025, decades later, the consequences of those actions seem to be catching up with him in a very real, very physical way. The recent reports of the prison attack suggest that old enemies, new grudges, and the secrets he's been exposing are far from settled. Shug's family has been deeply impacted by these events. Their trauma highlights the ripple effects of a life lived in the public eye, where the consequences of power struggles and violent rivalries don't stop at prison gates. While fans debate whether the attack was retaliation for speaking out or a warning to stay silent, the uncertainty is agonizing for those closest to him. The silence of prison officials only adds to the tension, leaving room for speculation and fear. Without confirmation or context, the public is left to wonder whether Shug's exposure of Diddy and others triggered this assault, or if there are even darker forces at play behind the scenes. Looking forward, the big question remains: will Suge Knight stay quiet, protecting himself at all costs, or will he continue to speak, revealing secrets that many powerful figures would rather keep hidden? Whatever path he chooses, it's clear that his story is far from over and that the shadow of his past continues to loom large. This situation also forces us to reflect on the broader lessons of Shug's life and career: the blurred line between fame and danger, the enduring power of grudges, and how the past can catch up in ways no one can fully predict. What do you think is going to happen next? Will Shug survive this latest threat? And will he finally reveal the truths behind the old East Coast versus West Coast conflicts? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on Suge Knight, hip-hop history, and the shocking stories no one else is covering, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. The story of Suge Knight is a reminder that in the world of hip-hop, past actions never truly fade. They echo, reverberate, and sometimes hit harder than anyone expects. Stay tuned, because the next chapter could be the most explosive yet.